If you've ever stood on the sideline of a youth football game, you've probably wondered if there's a better way, a way to really keep kids hooked, to help them get better, and most importantly, to make sure they actually fall in love with the game. Well, today we're going to dig into a pretty revolutionary approach that might just be the answer. It's called FUNiño. But before we get to the solution, let's start with a really important question, one that I bet a lot of parents and coaches have asked themselves. Why on earth are so many kids who are absolutely buzzing with excitement at age 6 quitting sports completely by the time they're 10? It's a massive problem, and you know what? It almost always comes down to one simple thing. It just stops being fun. So, to understand how to fix this, we have to get really honest about the problem. And a huge part of it is how we've traditionally set up youth football practices. We're basically just giving kids a shrunk-down version of what the pros do, and that's where things go wrong. This slide just hits the nail on the head. It all comes down to what some experts call the 3 L's. First, lines. Kids absolutely hate standing in long lines just waiting for their turn to do a drill. Next, lectures. They just tune out when a coach drones on and on with complicated instructions. And finally, laps. Running around in circles without a ball at their feet, that is the opposite of fun. This is just not what they signed up for. Okay, so if that's everything they don't want, then what do they want? What's the secret sauce that actually sparks that passion and keeps them coming back for more every single week? And here it is. This chart tells the whole story, doesn't it? The #1 motivator by a country mile is the game itself. Kids just want to play. They want the ball at their feet, they want to feel like they're succeeding, they want to score goals, and they just want to have fun with their friends. Everything else, the fancy gear, the perfect pitch, even what the parents are yelling from the sidelines, it's all secondary. And this, right here, is where FUNiño enters the picture. It's a system that was literally built from the ground up to get rid of all the stuff kids hate and to pump up everything they love about football. So what is it exactly? Well, FUNiño is a small-sided game. It's 3 against 3 on a pretty small field. But here's the game-changing twist. There are 4 goals, 2 at each end. And the whole philosophy is right there in that little phrase. Football tailored to children. It's not for adults, it's not for pros, it's for kids. This brings us to the absolute heart of the FUNiño method. And it's a huge shift in how we think about what a coach does and what a practice is even for. This is the mantra. Just let it sink in. The game is the teacher. See, instead of a coach blowing the whistle every 30 seconds to lecture everybody, the game itself, with its unique rules and setup, is what does the teaching. The kids learn by playing, by trying things, by solving problems on the fly. And this is so important. FUNiño isn't just about aimlessly kicking a ball around. That 4-goal setup forces players to constantly be aware of what's happening. They have to get their heads up and see the whole field. This is what builds what we call game intelligence, because they're constantly having to see the situation, figure out their options, and make a decision again and again and again. Let's just break that down for a second. Every single action in football follows these 4 stages, right? A player observes the field, they analyze what's important, like which goal is open or where are the defenders, they make a decision, should I pass or dribble, and then they try to execute the skill. In FUNiño, with way more space and way more options, players are flying through the cycle nonstop, and that just massively speeds up their development. Okay, so that's the theory, that's the why, but what does this actually look like on the field? Let's check out how this all comes together to create a totally different kind of training session. On the left, you've got your typical 60-minute practice. A full 45 minutes of it is spent on warm-ups, running, and drills, the 3 L's. And they only get about 15 minutes of an actual game. Now look at the FUNiño session on the right. They start playing the game immediately. The coach just watches, and if they spot a problem, they'll pause and introduce a quick corrective game to work on it, and then, boom, right back to playing. The whole hour is built around the game. And the results? They are just staggering. This chart shows you everything you need to know about how involved the players are. In a FUNiño 3v3 game, a player gets way more touches on the ball and so many more chances to score a goal compared to a traditional 8v8 game. And it's simple math, right? More involvement means more learning, more confidence, and, yep, you guessed it, way more fun. Ultimately, this all points to a massive shift in coaching philosophy. We're moving away from the old model of the coach as a kind of dictator, shouting instructions and controlling every little move. Instead, the coach becomes more of a guide, someone who creates an amazing learning environment and uses these fun, interactive games to engage and empower the players to actually think for themselves. So, as we start to wrap this up, it becomes pretty clear that FUNiño is so much more than just another training game. It's really a challenge for all of us to completely rethink our entire approach to youth sports. There's this incredible quote from the philosopher Jean-Jacques Rousseau that just nails it. We have to let children be children. The sports they play should be designed for them, for their growing bodies, for their developing minds, and not for the ambitions of the adults watching from the sideline. So I'm going to leave you with this final thought. Next time you step onto the pitch as a coach, or you stand on that sideline as a parent, ask yourself, what's the real goal here? Are we just teaching kids how to win this weekend's game? Or are we giving them the tools, the confidence, and the passion to love this beautiful game for the rest of their lives?